to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. We have had a chance to take a look at the minutes. Anybody have any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
And if you would, just call the rolls.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay?
Mr. Meterspaugh?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. And anything under fiscal officers report tonight? Okay. We do have under fiscal business the current bills to pay. We have had a chance to take a look at these. Anybody have any questions about the current bills? Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Meterspaugh?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay?
And anything else under fiscal business?
No, there's that.
Okay. Anything under unfinished business, Jack?
No, sir.
Okay, under new business administration, we have a purchase recommendation for furnace and air conditioning unit. Went out, we need a new one.
The furnace went out and the AC unit's integral to that operation, and I had thrown in the budget numbers for those because we knew it could be any time, and it was any time last week.
It didn't take long.
No, they actually got in here Friday to get that done, so I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so motion for the purchase of a new furnace and air conditioning unit from Watkins Heating and Cooling for $7,482.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Wade?
Yay.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay?
Mr. Meterspaugh?
Yay.
Okay. Police district? Nothing tonight, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Fire district?
Yes, sir.
All quiet. Zoning department?
Nothing, sir.
Road department?
No, sir.
No snow?
Nope, we got lucky.
We did. Wow.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody prepare more and not get, I mean, not us, but even
The whole
south
area.
of us.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And then still can't handle it, they still have anything,
Right.
there's nothing to do. Anything under staff reports tonight?
I had a couple things to bring up and wanted to see what the board's pleasure was. One thing, I talked to Chris Thompson at Springboro, and last year they did what they called Borough Fest. The schools kind of led that. And then there was a Borough 200. The city of Springboro is going to team with the schools on that event, and one of the things they would like to do is some fireworks. And they thought that the fireworks went very well last year, but they were wanting to just piggyback them to this Borough Fest and have a kind of a weekend thing, rather than maybe introduce it to the entire community as Borough 200 did. Anyway, long story short, I know one thing we had discussed was partnering on some of these things and being a part of some of these community type events, and they have fireworks, which I think they said they're gonna spend about $25,000 on the fireworks.
I think they're.
So my question to you is, do we want to partner with them, split the cost, do some amount of those? I've done those in the past, and I think we were anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000. Is that something that you want to be a part of?
Yeah, I think they're trying to build a tradition after last year, and they want to have it up to school. I think it's a good idea. They're talking about another big display, and they're trying to, last year that festival was pretty successful for the first real year for that. Yeah, I don't know, were you here in town for that?
I was here for the Sunday portion. I wasn't here for the fireworks themselves.
Big crowds, and they want to have it at school. Of course, that's obviously a good high spot from there around the area. So I'd like to see us do something. I know I'm sure they'd like us to split it with them, but I'd say we put a cap on it, and, say, because they're going to want us to do this every year, and that, which I don't think that's a bad thing.
Do we know what they spent last year? To me, I like the idea as well. I did speak to one of the Borough Fest people that told me that they were talking to him about some sort of partnership. But they're two separate weekends, so they're talking about doing this all on July 4th weekend going forward, is that the idea?
That's the idea.
The event, as far as I know, it is July 2nd and 3rd, which is Saturday and Sunday.
Okay,
It's primarily the schools running with the logistics, the coordination,
Right.
all that stuff. The city has said, you know, we'll take part in the firework portion, helping sponsor that. As far as where they came up with the cost, Rosie's is $1,000 a minute is what they end up charging. So the fireworks last year were somewhere around 25 minutes, so they thought that was the right time. That's where they came up with the cost. Since the schools were doing everything else and they were gonna kind of partner on the whole thing, I think that's where it came to, well, if you guys can pay for the fireworks, we've got the rest of the weekend, and you guys can be partners in this event. I think that's where it all emanated from.
We'll have other costs though too, besides just fireworks. We're gonna have fire department costs, and police costs probably, some.
But one of the biggest we asked with activities last year was give us a heads up, because that's prime vacation season, and normally we'd close out the books, so our guys can't take off during that time.
so
we
the
wouldn't use much
attractive
overtime.
piece from your perspective is it's now one weekend instead of two. Because we provide support both I'm not trying to sell it, I'm just saying, I'm thinking from that end of things.
Right.
We had, because Borough Fest is the evolution of Cook Family Fun Day, which was always the first weekend in August.
Which is an easier weekend for us to manage.
Right.
4th of July weekend.
But it doesn't make sense to do fireworks in the
Oh, I
first
agree.
weekend in August. I mean, I'm just talking out loud, or thinking out loud. So from that end of it, I guess that makes it easier. I don't understand, and my only thought is, I don't understand why they do the same one every year for the one they did for our 200th celebration. But although I don't wanna get into a negotiation with what they're planning on doing.
You mean the same show? Fireworks?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to me like it would need to be as big,
Oh,
based on the fact that was a bicentennial for our community,
gotcha.
so.
Well, one reason why we say, well, if it's,
Yeah.
we say $10,000 and that's all, and if they spend 50, that's all we're gonna spend.
What kind of expense are we thinking about having if we're on call and supporting fire and police?
For fire, just with Borough 200, we spent around 10,000 on overtime.
I think that's a great contribution toward it.
Oh, it is. But you're not gonna have that for this 2 day event.
Yeah, it's not, that was a 3-day event, was it not?
And it's not nearly.
It's not gonna be nearly as big.
Not even close. Well, you know what I think we should do is, and Chris is just giving you a ballpark figure? Or did she have an
I
actual,
think, well,
they have an actual thing?
I think they've said the 25,000 is what we wanna commit to.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she said that's what they committed with Rosie. Now, I didn't I said I have to bring it to the board and see what we're willing to do, if anything.
I'd like to think about that for a while.
Okay with me. I don't mind participating in it, and I don't mind, giving 10,000, but their 25 could grow to 40 before you know it.
I think we tell them it's a good, my perspective would be it's a contribution and support. Because they don't incur the cost of our support on the fire side at all. That's us. And we're supporting, if we keep talking about the joint, yeah, it's out of our budget, it's not out of theirs,
No,
so.
but they're gonna say, yeah, but the people pay for the fire department too. That's why they want the money.
I get that.
Well, we have to get that.
Yeah, no, I get
50%
it.
of, 50% of it comes from the state.
Right.
We can't lose sight of that.
We get a lot of people at the park that ask why we don't hold some type of a festival or something out at that park too. Every year, we have tons of people ask us why we don't do something out there, because it's such a nice facility.
Yeah, don't have much work.
We could do one and have Springboro help us.
There it is.
Less people in the park at the school.
Well, you know, when they started serving alcohol at Borough Fest, they asked, one of them approached me and I talked to them about our policy at the park not being able to change. You know, I mean, logistically, I don't think it would have been an issue, but that opens a whole different can of worms, so that's why they leased it from the school. But now they're partnering, so.
I don't know if our park is that good for a big event like that. Where are we gonna put all the cars?
We put them out in the grass.
Yeah, but not as
Like-
many as they're gonna have.
No, well, you know, at one time, now, Borough Fest was one thing, Borough 200 was one thing, but Borough Fest wasn't that heavily attended to where I don't think we could have supported that park.
Well, that's the goal, is to make it
Right.
a big deal.
No, right. And that's,
They want that to be like the Finland Festival.
Right.
And Alder Festival,
Yep.
that's their goal, is to bring in that kind of money.
and that all benefits the school district, which is good.
Correct.
And we certainly should be part of that. So,
Well, I would tell them that we will
It's under
certainly,
consideration.
yeah.
but they need to set a hard deadline, or a hard line on what they're gonna spend,
Or just say,
or understand that we're only gonna be willing to contribute so much.
yeah, because of the cost with the fire department. I wouldn't beat that too hard, because she'll say, well, yeah, it's just in spring.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have to be careful.
I think we're gonna have, no matter what they do, we're gonna have the cost of the fire
Exactly.
personnel as part of it, and it was a little more extensive than it would be for just a fireworks show at the high school.
Yeah.
You'd have more coordination, you'd be involved from the start, but, okay, I'll have to get back to her, and if you have any questions regarding that,
Okay.
you know, I think there's not any other community events that I know of that are something like that you can jump in.
No, I mean, Christensen's probably, really the only other opportunity in I guess, the spring fling as far as community-oriented events. Everything else they do on their own in the parks. Their summer concerts and,
All the business activities.
yeah. That's becoming more of a community. The schools are involved with all the
Where's
bands
their
and the
money?
choirs.
Where's the
I
money?
understand, well,
They don't put money in.
right,
Okay.
but they provide the facility.
Yeah. No, the school puts money in from that.
You're talking about the
perspective.
city,
Well, or the community as a whole.
yeah.
I mean, we don't put money in, the city doesn't put money.
No,
in.
right, no,
We
no,
buy-
yeah,
They buy a booth.
I meant, but it's more of a community-oriented event, as far as those,
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
there's pieces in the year that there's really only 3. So, spring, summer,
Well,
and
let's give that some thought.
winter.
See if you can tell her to give us a figure of how much she wants out of this. Start with that.
Okay?
Okay.
I have one other thing, I talked to Brian about doing a per diem reimbursement for travel. I know it's in the employee handbook, where you have so much for breakfast, lunch, dinner. I don't have any umbrage with the amounts. Other places do a simple, here's how much you get per day, we'll cut you a check, and then don't come back, you know, whatever you spend, you spend. It's called a per diem reimbursement. Talked to Brian about that. I didn't know if it was possible for townships to do that rather than have the whole receipt turn in, which is
Okay, I
taking
guess
a lot
it's-
of time.
So what you're getting at is so you don't, whoever that individual is doesn't need to turn in a receipt.
Yeah,
Here's your money
you
and.
cut somebody a check for how many
Spend
days they're
200,
gone,
that's
for
it.
the amount you get per day, and that's, according to Brian, that's legal, that's okay. We've just spent a lot of time messing with travel reimbursement, people don't do it that frequently. You know, they might forget to get the detail, and it's just been a little cumbersome for the little bit you actually get reimbursed for your meals.
So
So-
if somebody's gonna go to a seminar and they have lunch and breakfast and a lunch, then it would be $40. If they have dinner, it'd be 60.
Yeah,
Something.
yeah. So you get so much per meal and then a cap for the day. So if you didn't eat breakfast, you get the total amount for the day and you just add breakfast into the total. But I'd have to draft the policy, I'd have to redraft what's in our handbook to allow for this with, you know, the stipulations of how you submit and get your per diem check prior to travel, along with the fact that you could get reimbursed too if you didn't do the per diem. But I didn't want to go to that trouble if you all just objected to the per diem idea.
My experience
Right
with
off
per
the bat.
diems is it's a flat number no matter what you do in the day. So if we're allowing, what is it right now, 50?
It's 46 for the
Is
day.
it 46? I do remember that meeting. I did exhaustive research and still got, anyway, so let's just say the per diem was $50. My understanding is so if Chief's going to Columbus for 3 days and staying up there, he'd get a check for $350 as a per diem. And if he
Yeah,
decided only to
basically
eat
it's-
one meal a day, he could spend it on that one meal. Am I missing something here, or are you talking about breaking it down further like Ed is?
Well, that's not the way it's done now.
I guess
No,
I-
it's not.
Yeah.
But this would basically be either, by definition, an advance or just a flat number, and
Well-
then you don't mess with the receipts.
My thought was we follow the rules we have in place now, which is if you have a lunch as part of your conference, then you take that amount out of the per diem total. So you do it like you do now, you could just give your conference information and a request for the per diem check ahead of time and then not have to worry
And
about
then
all
deduct the
receipts.
ones that you don't, okay. Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah.
that's,
I don't have any problem.
just to avoid the
Hassle.
hassle of the receipts and everything.
Yeah, it just takes a lot of time for the little bit you get reimbursed at the end of the day, and rather than
Why
spend
don't you
that
draft
time.
something, let us look at it.
Okay, well, I did, yeah, if you're amenable to that, I'll draft something and you
Is
can.
there, a check in there, you know, the way we're doing it in that, none of the funds would be going toward alcohol or anything like that?
Yes, that's part of it.
Right, so if we just give them $150, there's no guarantees that alcohol would not be consumed at lunchtime or for the real part of your breakfast.
Good point.
If you look at me when you said that, Steve, that's.
I'm just throwing that.
Yeah,
out
no,
there,
that's-
That's a fair point.
I mean, I guess the idea of the travel reimbursement is if you're traveling for the township's business, you get so much to feed yourself. So if you do the per diem, you're basically saying, here's your money to feed yourself, and we don't need to see the receipts.
I think there's a policy fallback for that too, at least for the police department, I'm sure fire department has it too. You can't drink during working hours unless you're on a assignment that requires it, and it has to be signed off on by the department head, like an undercover thing or something like that. So if you're worried about that, I'm sure that could be covered by our policy, that lunch and breakfast for sure would fall within that. That's your work hours, and you can't use it because you can't be drinking while you're working, and we would consider that your work day. There's probably a policy fallback for you there.
That's a good drafted.
Draft something, let's look at it.
Okay, yeah, just, it's
That's,
gonna
I'm fine
take a
with
little
it.
time,
If it makes the process for our employees easier and the fiscal office and you, then,
Yeah, I think,
and we're within the confines of ORC and everything that entails.
yeah, I think all of the above is, yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Jack?
No, that's all I had.
Anybody else have anything to bring? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gabbard?
Yay.
Mr. Mearsclaw?
Yay.
Mr. Wade?
Yay. Thank you all very much.